The Biden campaign counters that just because Trump is raising more money, he is, eating into that by all of these mounting legal fees. And they actually said he paid roughly, or he spent twice as much on legal fees in April as he did on actual campaigning. Biden still maintains roughly about $100 million advantage over Trump. So this is going to come down to the wire, but I think what it really shows about Republicans are that the criminal trials of Donald Trump are not only not pushing them away from supporting the former president, they're actually potentially increasing their interest in supporting him, both at the ballot box and then, of course, financially.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by White House reporter Christian Datoc. Christian, whatever you think of the polls, one thing that has been going pretty well for President Biden as he seeks re-election has been his fundraising. But the latest fundraising numbers maybe tell a slightly different story?
That's right, Jim. We got the FEC reports for April earlier this week, and for the first time this cycle, former President Trump actually outraised President Biden, and that was thanks in part to a huge record-breaking fundraiser he had at Mar-a-Lago earlier in the month. That brought in more than $50 million, and that helped contribute to the roughly $25 million advantage he logged in April. Now, the Biden campaign counters that just because Trump is raising more money, he is, eating into that by all of these mounting legal fees. And they actually said he paid roughly, or he spent twice as much on legal fees in April as he did on actual campaigning. Biden still maintains roughly about $100 million advantage over Trump. So this is going to come down to the wire, but I think what it really shows about Republicans are that the criminal trials of Donald Trump are not only not pushing them away from supporting the former president, they're actually potentially increasing their interest in supporting him, both at the ballot box and then, of course, financially.
So President Biden celebrated a major judicial milestone this week as he's trying to sort of counteract the effect that President Trump had on the courts.
Well, earlier this week, the president logged his 200th Senate confirmation of a judge or a justice. He reached that point roughly 1 month ahead of former President Trump when he accomplished that in his term in office. But Trump still outpaces him in terms of total confirmations. And of course, those three Supreme Court justices, who have been a lightning rod, especially among liberals, when you look back at the Dobbs decision, when you look at them striking down President Biden's student loan debt forgiveness. But I have to imagine this is a trend we're going to be seeing in the future as each party becomes further away from the center, more extreme, so to speak. We're going to see a focus on placing friendly, so to speak, judges in these lifetime appointments. And again, just it seems like something Trump took from Mitch McConnell when he was president. That was something McConnell talked about as being a highlight of his tenure as Senate leader.
Sure.
And I expect that to follow in subsequent administrations, regardless of party.
And with no filibuster, if the White House and Senate are controlled by the same party, pretty easy to move through some of these judges now.
That's exactly right. And we're hearing Republicans talking about their plans for a trifecta should Trump win and they take back the Senate in 2024. I'd have to imagine focusing on the judiciary will be a priority for them.
So you mentioned the student loan forgiveness plans. They were rebuffed by the Supreme Court on that, but they've pursued a number of smaller initiatives that they think will pass judicial muster, but they are getting under some pressure on this front, no?
Certainly, and it's been sustained ever since President Biden, announced his plan to tackle student debt earlier in his term. This latest tranche affects roughly 160,000 borrowers. That brings the total up to 4.75 million for the past couple of years. And the polling, the White House says, indicates that despite the Supreme Court and Republican obstruction to the president's plan, the polling still supports extending forgiveness to these borrowers who the White House is saying are, quote, literally being crushed by debt. That being said, we've seen a poll from Fox. Literally, this actually came up in the briefing, and Karine Jean-Pierre caught some flack for her improper use of the term.
Right.
But some polling is starting to indicate that people are moving off that position. And Jean-Pierre, again, was pressed earlier this week about just someone who decided not to go to college for any number of reasons, why their taxes should be going to pay off the debt for other people when there are so many economic questions and uncertainty in this country heading into November.
To err is human, to forgive is divine. Thank you, Christian. You can read Christian and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.